Boom! We're back. Chenik, your host. Beautiful day. Give thanks. Gonna keep going on our book of Arising a New Consciousness. Most ancient religions and spiritual traditions share the common insight that our normal state of mind is marred by a fundamental defect. However, out of this insight into the nature of the human condition, we may call it the bad news. Arises a second insight, the good news of the possibility of a radical transformation of human consciousness. It is possible to have a radical transformation. If it can happen in one individual, if we can make it happen into one individual, it can surely happen for the whole world. That's for sure. In Hindu teachings, and sometimes in Buddhism also, this transformation is called enlightenment. Enlightenment. In the teachings of Jesus, it is salvation. And in Buddhism, it is the end of suffering. Say hi.
Hi.
You're going for a trip? He's going on a trip on his favorite reggae ship. It's called enlightenment. In the teaching of Jesus, it is salvation. And in Buddhism, it is the end of suffering. Liberation and awakening are other terms used to describe this transformation. The greatest achievement of humanity is not its work of art, science, or technology, but the recognition of its own dysfunction, its own madness. In the distant past, this recognition already came to a few individuals. A man called Gautama Siddhartha, who lived 2,600 years ago in India, was perhaps the first who saw it with absolute clarity. With absolute clarity. For sure, there is many people that have seen our state of the state of humanity, where it is at now. What's the and why is it like that also? Yeah. The awakened one, that's it. Later, the title Buddha was conferred upon him. Yeah, Buddha means the awakened one. At about the same time, another of humanity's early awakening teacher emerged in China. His name was Lao Tzu. He left a record of his teaching in the form of one of the most profound spiritual books ever written, the Tao Te Ching. To recognize one's insanity is, of course, the arising of sanity, the beginning of healing and transcendence. A new dimension of consciousness had begun to emerge on the plane, a first tentative flowering. Those rare individuals then spoke to their contemporaries. They spoke of sin, of suffering, of delusion. They said, look how you live. See what you are doing, the suffering you create. Then they pointed to the possibility of awakening from the collective nightmare of normal human existence. They showed the way. They showed the way. For sure, it's all about showing the way. Show the way. The world was not yet ready for them. That's the thing. I don't. Are we ready for a massive awakening? Do you think we're ready, Gavin, for a massive awakening?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
I doubt it. I doubt we're ready for this kind of awakening. I think we're pretty far down the path of retardation. It's gonna be hard to come back. But there is ways, there is possibility, for sure. The world was not yet ready for them, and they were a vital and necessary part of human awakening. Inevitably, they were mostly misunderstood by their contemporaries, as well as by subsequent generations. Inevitably, they were mostly misunderstood, that's it. Their teachings, although both simple and powerful, became distorted and misinterpreted. That's what's happening. A lot of the teaching these days, a lot of people will come and show us the way. Many people in human history have came to show us the way. Whether, like, I wasn't there to verify Jesus and Buddha and all these greats. No, I wasn't there, but I kind of at one point also can deny the whole. Some people probably, anyway, these greats, I'm probably sure they've existed. Jesus is another thing. Did Jesus really existed? Anyway, I can't really prove this. I can't really verify this. It's very... in some case, even as they were recorded in writing by their disciples. Over the centuries, many things were added that had nothing to do with the original teachings, but were reflections of a fundamental misunderstanding. Some of the teachers were ridiculed, reviled, or killed. Others came to be worshipped as gods. Teachings that pointed the way beyond the dysfunction of the human mind. The way out of the collective insanity were distorted and became themselves part of the insanity. And so religion, to a large extent, became divisive rather than unifying forces. Instead of bringing about an ending of violence and hatred through a realization of the fundamental oneness of all life, they brought more violence and hatred, more divisions, between people, as well as between different religions and even within the same religion. They became ideologies, belief systems people could identify with, and so use them to enhance their false sense of self. Through them, they could make themselves right and others wrong, and thus define their identity through their enemies, the others, the non-believers, or wrong believers, who not infrequently, they saw themselves justified in killing. Man made God in his own image. The eternal, the infinite, and unamiable was reduced to a mental idol that you had to believe in and worship as my God, our And And yet, in spite of all the insane deeds perpetrated in the name of religion, the truth to which they point still shines at their core. It still shines, however, dimly through layers upon layers of distortion and misinterpretation. It is unlikely, however, that you will be able to perceive it there unless you have at least already had a glimpse of that truth within yourself. Do you have a glimpse of that truth within yourself? Very important. I'll be back.